Hello and welcome, everyone. Yes, you guys just heard the drive with Q. He was on at 5 o'clock, firing off with the comments. Holy moly, there was a lot of comments that went on today for sure. And we thank you all the folks who scooted over from the drive with Q, now with myself and Beav, Beav's World here on a Wednesday evening, 6 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 o'clock Central Time. And we do appreciate everyone who's tuning in as we get a lot to go into. We'll take you a little bit after 7 o'clock, and then the last show of the evening will be Talking Hoops at 8 p.m., 7 Central, Mondays and Wednesdays, always the hottest, heaviest days here on Sports Radio 102.9 from the game. Don't forget, you guys can make all your social media comments, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Kicks.com, Rumble, everywhere and anywhere in between. And you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. A couple of things I need to update here in the studio. I'll probably get to it during the break, so it matches what everybody else is doing. But nonetheless, as we start off with Beav, which I don't, for the life of me, I don't get it. Listen, even Rich had mentioned, not every time you're going to have like gang-busting wins and things are going to happen, but it makes me laugh. For whatever odd reason, people just want to either, I don't know if it's now, it's the haterade, like Gatorade, that people don't want to see the Lions to do well. But I don't get it, because where in the world where's the hatred coming from? To me, Detroit is still going to be the ones to go through if everything keeps going at this rate, the way that they're happening. But the same way, Dan had said that, you got to get, a gut punch every once in a while. And that was it. He said, we've been eating filet mignons for a while now, and we finally got a taste of what it's like to eat regular food. And listen, it's a good analogy, but at the same time too, I think he's been hard the entire season. It just happened to be that Buffalo decided to break him just for one game.
Yeah, I mean, almost immediately they're in trouble. You sneeze and they're down 14-0. But, as I was messaging my friends during the game, a couple of my friends during the game, hey, I think the Lions probably spent a lot of game planning for Ty Johnson. He was killing them, if you get the joke there.
Yeah.
He got I think he had about 150 yards total offense. He's not really. It's like their defensive coach is doing the play sheet and goes, "Who the hell is Ty Johnson?" By the way, he used to play for the Lions. It was hello Auto Racing Digest, and now Mickey, I'm not a real host. We get a lot of real hosts here. Be nice. If I'm your favorite host, that's okay. But we all have taste. There you go. No, it was an eye-opening thing. And listen, this reminded me a lot. You folks wouldn't understand this, but the 96 New England Patriots thought they were the greatest thing since sliced bread. And the Denver Broncos went in there with John Elway, Shannon Sharp, and Steve Atwater, and Ed McCaffrey, and Terrell Davis, and kicked their ass. This is the famous Shannon Sharp on the phone calling the president to help the Patriots. That team. They came back and got to the Super Bowl. Now, that team didn't have 22 guys on IR, 19 of them from defense. And we still don't know what's going on with David Montgomery, because he was getting his second and third opinion on his leg. Dan talked about that today. I'm joking. I'm glad I didn't go to the game Sunday, because there would have been the starting nose guard by the end of the game. They obviously have to adjust the way they do things, and people need to stop screaming and hollering about Dan going for fourth downs and all this stuff, because that's why he's doing this, because he knows the offense they have to win with the offense. They don't have enough players left on defense. Nobody can sustain the amount of injuries to the quality of the amount of players they have had happen. I mean, they lost two guys who were they're in their top three corners the other day in the game. They lost their nose guard, who was having a great all-pro season. Guys like 50 pressures. Aleem McNeil. They already lost Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone. At one point, 2 weeks ago, their entire two deep of the D-line, 8 guys were out. And they were in this game. If they recovered that onside kick, they would have a shot. But, they're not the first or last team to get shredded by Josh Allen and friends. But, hey, they'll go out and roll the ball out on Sunday, and we'll see how they look. And I have a feeling they'll show up.
I think, for me, I'm not worried about Detroit. And it's the same way. Where I'm worried about is if again, because the playoffs always bring out different things. But let's just say hypothetically, Detroit keeps going in their winning ways of where they're going right now. They end up hosting. One of the two will
You need
end
the
up
number one seed, Angel. That's the whole key. Nobody needs more rest than this team does.
right.
And you also think they need to stay away from going to your house of horrors, Philadelphia.
Yeah, but you know what? Before I would say I would agree, except for in the past couple of years, the
Don't
way
say your favorite two words together, Angel. Don't say it. We know
that's
the two
true.
words that
Yeah, no,
the
screw that guy.
NS, the NS, the
Yeah,
N.
no,
Don't
screw that
say
guy.
it.
It used to be before, like it was tough. Now I here's the difference was when Dougie P was here. Yes, I would say that it was a different story. The other one, nah, they trot right through the field. I'm not. That's why I prefer for the Eagles to win on the road if they're going to make their Super Bowl, and more importantly, because it's either going to be Minnesota or obviously Detroit, one or two, as far as who's going to be going to Detroit. But if it's going to be the Eagles versus Detroit, I think that would be a tremendous NFC Championship game. Do I believe the Eagles could beat Detroit? I could lie to myself and say yes, but my problem is it's probably going to be, they'll probably have a fast start, come the divisional playoff round, then I get the NFC Championship game, and all of a sudden it'll be like, we're going to start right where we left off in the beginning of the season, slow and not steady. So that's my only issue that I have with the Eagles because, again, and people, I know the messages that I get, you non-believer, you this, that, and the other, jumped off the bandwagon. You're an Eagles fan, there's no bandwagon. You're either on or off, one of the two. That's it. There's no freaking bandwagon. And to me, because obviously living here in Tampa, I report on the Bucks, and the Bucks right now are doing good things. They're hot at this point. But for me, Detroit is going to be the team that everybody's going to have to go through. They can say whatever they want to. Sam Darnold is having an excellent year. Who would have thought in the wild, wide world of sports, as Pete likes to say, that Minnesota would have been doing as hot as they were, yet alone to think a 12-2. When have we ever, in the history of the NFL, have seen a team fighting for a wild card spot with a 12-2 record, which is absolutely insane. And then wait until
I talked about this last week. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you already know, listen, they can say whatever they want to. They're going to turn it into an 18-week season. The NFL does not like odd numbers. They love even numbers. That's why they make billions. So they love even numbers. It's going to turn around. You're going to have one less game in preseason. You'll probably only have, truthfully, one preseason game and just train in the, on the field, basically, and then go straight into it. One way or the other. The only difference will be is that they won't start before the college season because I don't think the NFL, and I could be wrong, I don't think they want to trample on the NCAA toes because they always like you got the kickoff to the NCAA season and then the kickoff to the NFL season. So if anything, you would have that additional game come into January, which then you might push back the Super Bowl maybe a week.
To President's Day weekend.
Could be.
Which is what they've always wanted.
How in the world, out of anything, how has the NFL not moved it where it's a holiday weekend so you get that extra rest, especially if you're a fan? Even if you go to these parties, I've gone to places that even when the Eagles never even existed into a Super Bowl, I've gone to places and enjoyed with other people. That's what you do. But, we shall see. By the way, Tim says, as a Dallas fan, oh, ye little faith, typical Eagles fan being confident dude. See, but what part did you not miss, Tim? Did I say that the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl? I said no. I said that if we go to Detroit, it's a good possibility Detroit won them winning. By any means, I'm not Tim and love Tim because he's on in the morning with Pete when he tunes in. But being a Dallas fan, listen, Dallas fans, not for nothing. Someone said you guys were going to go win the Super Bowl after you got paid. How did that work out for you, Dallas fans? So I'm not confident. And if anybody knows, it's Beav because you'll hear me. I go on a freaking rant with the stuff that goes on with the Eagles. So no, I'm not confident. The only confidence I have is I know they're practicing this week and they're going to play this week. That's where my confidence stops. Because with the slow starts and the way the Eagles have been performing as of late, and yes, okay, big deal, 10, 11 game win streaks. As Dan Campbell said, guaranteed they're not going to go another 11 game win streak. So at the end of the season, we know things happen. We're about to play the Commanders. I say we as I play for the team. Eagles are about to play the Commanders. Does it mean that the Commanders are going to fold when the Commanders know they still have an opportunity to be able to get in one way or the other? Of course not. And if there's going to be any Achilles heel, it could be the Commanders. So I don't have all that ultra confidence. Tim, my thing is, or like confidence, I should say, my thing is that we will see what this team is all about. That's the only thing that drives me nuts when it comes to the Eagles. And by the way, I still believe your head coach should be fired anyways. That and your owner really needs to freaking throw in the towel because I'm tired of both, period. But anyways,
Well, I mean, anybody who follows you and me, Angel, when you morph into angle is when we say that NS word, your head coach of the Eagles. That's your trigger word. I'm not going to say it. So it's you're not the oh my god, the Eagles are the greatest team since the '85 Bears thing. That's not you. And I think the East Coast part of and we're both East Coast guys
yeah.
makes us look at things differently and harder on things with our teams. I don't have an NFL team anymore because of how the Patriots mismanaged things, including the exit of the greatest thing that ever happened to them. But it is what it is. But I'm just a fan of the league. I think the Eagles have a good team. The Eagles would have a big advantage because of the problems with the Lions' defensive line and front seven, and the strength of your team are your both lines of scrimmage, more specifically your offensive line with Landon Johnson and all those guys. So that's a big problem. Without Aiden and friends and Aline McNeil and so forth being hurt, that's a big deal. But again, the Lions have really good skill position players. The Eagles' defense is good, but they have two rookies starting. That's always tough in the playoffs. They have a undrafted free agent who's a starting safety in Blankenship. Got a lot of new guys moving around the linebacker. Braun was an outside rusher guy like Mike Vrabel, and they moved him inside. N'Kobe Dean and the two fat guys from Georgia in the middle are great players, but they're two completely different players. I mean, Jordan Davis is a Vince Wilfork type of guy, and Jalen Carter's a Warren Sapp, John Randall, get up the field and rush guy. So it's interesting to see. It would be a good game, but again, the Lions need to win out and maintain their home field and get the number one seed. Anything can happen in the NFC, particularly with the NFC having some good quarterbacks and passing games. If Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers win in the city Ford Field, that would be a game. If Stafford and the Rams did, that would be a game. Just because the Lions' defense is in such disarray, they have to figure things out. They had all these struggles in Seattle the last couple of years because of those receivers. They had trouble with those guys. But we'll see. There's a lot can happen, Angel, in 3 weeks. I mean, look what's going on with Mahomes now. And, it is what it is. But we'll see. I mean, obviously, these games are big. And I ultimately think it's going to come down to the last game of the regular season. I think they will flex the Lions and Vikings for it to be the last game on Sunday night. And the Lions will be hosting the Vikings for everything. So there you go. Unless the Packers help the Lions out and beat them, or they have another game. They can play Seattle. Minnesota does. So we'll see. But it is what it is, buddy.
Can we put also, and I have to be careful as my producer listens in, but do we also put the Bears in the wait for it 3 years from now?
Depends on what you think of the quarterback. I'm not a big fan. I've never been a big fan. That also is a horrible organization historically. Capital H, horrible organization wise for developing offensive players. We were just talking about the Lions. Don't laugh at what I'm about to tell you.
All right.
Outside of the '85 Bears, look at the two organizations last 40 years, and you'll be amazed how much similar they are than you think. They had Walter Payton. Lions had Barry Sanders and Billy Sims. Calvin Johnson was here. The Lions have some really good teams in the 90s, but the organization just made bad decisions on quarterbacks.
Yep.
The Bears ultimately took away one of their bigger mistakes the Lions made. They let Eric Kramer leave, and he was good on the Bears. I think he has the highest yardage season ever in the history of the Bears. Look it up. Just a lot of bad choices, bad organization, old school organization. The Lions have transitioned to Sheila Ford, the owner's daughter, and she's become a great owner. She hired Brad Holmes and Hulk Hogan himself, Dan Campbell. Since those two have come in, transitioned, and done a great job. The Bears are still stuck in the 1950s with McCaskies. They kept Eberflus around, defensive coach, young skill guy who needs a tough coaching, needs direction, and to be pushed. Not everybody's Joe Burrow, where they go to Cincinnati, which is trash, and he fixes it. I know they're having a bad year, but unlike his second year, he made the Super Bowl. So I'm not sold on them. And this division is brutal. The Lions aren't going anywhere. The Packers, hit on 17 again and got 21 with Jordan Love. And the Vikings are going to have to make a decision here with either Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. But here's the other part. They're going to get something back for one of those two guys. So they're going to be good. I don't know what the Bears' direction is. They need a coach. The president of the team is holding things back, Kevin Warren, because Harbaugh should have been there, and he screwed that up. It is what it is. But no, the Bears are not a guarantee. Nothing's guaranteed in this league. Everybody thought the Jaguars going to be great, including me, and then Trevor Lawrence got hurt, and Urban Meyer, and all this other nonsense happened, and they're a mess.
Tim says, by the way, you are correct about Jerry. He is his own worst enemy, 100%, Tim. As for McCarthy, I've had a bad feeling Jerry will keep him for 1 or 2 years. You know what?
He's not a bad coach, by the way. Mike McCarthy is not a bad coach, by the way. He's the least of their problems.
Yeah, but I still think he probably needs some new landscaping. But he says he also follows up with need a great coach and a damn GM. That is true. You guys do need a GM. Stuck with Dak and CD. Might lose Parsons. What the F this year?
They're not going to lose Michael Parsons. If they trade him, they will tag him and trade him. They will get something for him. They're not just letting Michael Parsons walk out the door.
You would hope not, but I'm not. I'm also not 100% sold either that they're going to turn around and just.
Oh, by the way, it also depends on Michael Parsons has some very bad film. He's very erratic. He's a weird guy. And going back to when he was in college, I never noticed him when he was at Penn State. Part of that was Phil Franklin was using him wrong. He was having him as like an inside linebacker instead of an edge guy. So, but again, it is what it is. The whole team is very overhyped and overrated. But continue, Angel. Go ahead.
Jerry Jones is probably at this point, I would almost dare to say, well, the Bucks have their issues too, but Jerry Jones is like Peter Angelos. Only thing he cares about is bring the money and bring the people into the stands. Give me the money. Don't care what happens to this team. Although he says he does.
I think he cares about winning, Angel. I think you're wrong about that.
I wish that
I just think he doesn't know how to win anymore.
That too.
There's a difference. There's not knowing how to win and not trying to win, which is the Patriots are doing, by the way, or trying to win but going about it the wrong way. They never should have paid Dak. They should have moved off Dak.
No, like I said, I was for it the first time he should have gotten paid. I had agreed.
Yes.
The second time around, no. And you could see it. You can't be like Donovan McNabb. You cannot be a winning regular season quarterback. And then when it comes to playoff time, you choke and you fold. I mean, you have Green Bay, even after Aaron Rodgers was gone, Green Bay has still been their daddy for the past couple seasons during the playoffs. So I mean, I don't know if the Sun's any better. Tim, you're more close to what goes on down there in Dallas. But to me, I hear that his son is almost identical to Jerry. And if that's the case.
No, I got a story.
Okay.
That's how they got Zach Martin because Steven overruled Jerry who wanted to draft Johnny Manziel. There's one that we know of. There's a lot of those. By the way, the Cowboys have had good drafts. They've been good at drafting. It's just they made mistakes with some of the high-profile players. Zeke and Dak are the two most obvious ones. But, I mean, look, they let Tony Pollard go, and that was a mistake. He's a good player. They don't have any explosive plays from their running back position. And they just, it is what it is. They've moved off of people like Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells, and don't laugh, Barry Switzer, and kept numbnuts there too long. The Princeton QB, Troy Aikman's backup, Jay, who's the coach they had there forever, kept him way too long. What's up, Jerry? Yeah, it's I don't know what to tell you, but it is what it is. We spend way too much time talking about the Cowboys. I mean, really, that's part of what the problem is.
Well, that's
Jason Garrett. Thank you, Tim.
yeah. There you go, Jason Garrett. Yep.
He's on Sunday night. He's on Sunday night NFL broadcast.
I really do like him as a being part of media as a broadcaster. I think he does a really good job.
You like him because it makes you realize how much fun the Eagles used to have playing his dumbass and his teams.
Yeah, that's true too.
That's like it's like when your boyfriend gets fired from the Eagles. Yeah, hopefully he'll be in the media somewhere, and you can see him and laugh at him.
No.
He's not a media guy. He's not. He has no personality. He's just dull.
He can go back to newspapers. He can go deliver newspapers for all I care. Freaking clown.
Angel, so mean. What did the guy ever do to you? It's so funny.
Can't stand the dude. For
like
life,
guy in the world, and you say this guy's name, and you go nuts.
He's such a moron. That's a problem. To me now there's the situation. If you want to keep it in the NFC for a moment here, and we go down to the NFC South, you decided to pick up
Kirk Cousins,
right? And then they decide when they thought it wasn't good enough. Well, now it's time to bench him and put up Michael Penix Jr., which they're going to play the New York Giants. Which Rich had just mentioned not too long ago that he's frustrated because he feels that the Giants will end up winning. He wants them to to just lose, and they're going back to Drew Lock. But
the Giants basically threw the game last week. If you saw the end of that game,
yeah,
they're not going to win. They're not going to win the game.
But you have Michael Penix Jr., which a lot of people were high on. Pete wanted him in New England bad, other than Drake May. But now you have Michael Penix.
He wanted Kirk Cousins?
No. He wanted Penix.
Okay.
Yeah, Pete wanted Penix. But then, obviously they started seeing the shifting around and stuff. Then he was like, all right, I'll take Drake May as well. But you have Michael Penix Jr., who obviously played well in his final season in college. Now he gets the opportunity because he is technically supposed to be the quarterback of the future for Atlanta. So this will be a tryout for the most part for Michael Penix Jr. But if Atlanta, let's say, and it's not hard to freaking roll in the Giants, but let's just say if they happen to roll in the Giants, to me, in my opinion, you don't have that many games left. You might just go ahead and stick with Michael Penix Jr. and then figure out what you're going to do with Kirk Cousins.
Well, what they're going to do about Kirk Cousins is send him somewhere away and eat a lot of that money. Joey B with the shameless '80s reference. I love it.
Yeah.
No,
what is it? $90 million that would have to pay to Kirk Cousins?
Yeah. Well, by the way, look at what Denver did with Russell Wilson. Same thing. So, and by the way, Denver's good, but I don't think Sean Payton's going to coach Atlanta. I don't know. We'll see. Cousins, obviously, some guys handle the Achilles surgery better than others. Aaron Rodgers is a way better athlete than Cousins, and he's looked kind of clunky at times. So that might be part of what's going on. But Kirk Cousins, he's an example of really good management by his agent.
Yeah.
Who's a friend of mine, by the way, and he did a good job getting him paid. But he's good, not great. An example we were just talking about with Dak. You overpay on one of these guys, like this stupid story about Brock Purdy getting $60 million a year. I'm like, oh, what? No, he's worth about 30. And please don't give me this. Oh, he's good. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo was good in that system. Is anybody giving him $60 million a year?
Nope.
By the way, if that's what Purdy wants, if I am the 49ers, I trade him and sign Sam Darnold if the Vikings let Sam Darnold go.
Yep. Tim, by the way, says Jason Garrett is howdy doody, not howdy doody. Clap, clap, clap. God, I couldn't stand him. The Buccaneers have beat Detroit and Philly. Kryptonite. And that's, again, the Bucs. The Buccaneers right now could easily run the rest of the table for the regular NFL, regular season schedule. The Bucs who's also had the Eagles number if they end up facing off each other for some crazy, miraculous reason. But if that's the case, there's a good possibility, or even if you match up the Bucks with Minnesota, there's still a really good possibility the Bucks could end up beating either or at this point.
Yes, no question. Yeah, I mean that's it doesn't surprise me at all. The Bucks are hot right now, and I mean obviously just went and beat a really good Chargers team, and you know just they're no joke. And Baker and those receivers, now that they figured out how to play with Mike Evans, and Godwin's been hurt, and the young kids come in there and done a good job. McMillan, uh, it's amazing what they're doing. Obviously K. Dot and the receivers have stepped up, but the backs too, Rashard White and Irving, who's been hurt, and Tucker's coming there. So it's crazy when you think about it, where they're at. But we'll see what happens and how it goes. Again, got a lot of games to play. The last couple of years, we've had teams come on a run late, and we'll see again. I like the Bucks a lot. You know that. I have a lot of respect for those people. They did a great job when Tommy was there, and I always want to see them do good. I think the Glazers are good owners. I love Todd Bowles. A lot of people want to broom him out and just hand the keys over to not McMillan, Liam Cohen.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do that to Coach Bowles. I think Coach Bowles is a huge part of why they win. Liam Cohen wants to go be a head coach somewhere else. Let him go. They can find another coach when Coach Bowles is done. He's a big part of the team there. He's like a father figure. He's a really good guy, and I like him personally. I think he's a good coach too.
I think so. I will. We have an injury update coming from the Steelers. Apparently, head of the injury report for Week 16.
Pickens is out.
Yeah, Pickens, after suffering the ankle injury this past weekend, was a limited did not practice due to hamstring injury. And then you also have obviously TJ Watt, who was limited in practice participation, rightfully so, because again, it looked originally, the way he looked at his leg, I swore he had torn his ACL because of the way he was moving around. But that was not the case. Apparently, it's his hamstring. And then the other notables are Justin Fields with a hamstring, who's did not play. We obviously know that. Linebacker Patrick Queen, resting, non-injury related. Deshaun Elliott, the safety back, who also did not play. And then cornerback Dante Jackson did not play as well either because of his back, including linebacker Elandon Roberts, who's resting on a non-injury related apparently problem. So the Steelers are banged up. This is the worst time of the year to be banged up when the team needs you the most. And some of the stuff, like I don't like the early bye weeks because you're still fresh. You're still
Lions had that, by the way. Lions had that.
Yeah. And I just did for like the last two seasons, the Eagles had late ones, which is really good because you get you guys at least a little bit healthy. You get that week in between. But the early ones are terrible. I don't like it, especially when your team is banged up because there's no rest time. And then if you're fighting for a wild card spot or you're trying to win the division, 1 or 2, you can't rest these guys. So if they're banged up, you got to put them out there as long as obviously they're eligible to play. But I don't know. It's tough. So Pittsburgh it's going to be a tough road for them to win on Sunday. Beavs, I took Oklahoma and plus 3.5 tonight. Neutral court game in Charlotte for OU and Michigan hoops. So it's going to be a close game.
I think you're going to lose that game because I think Michigan's going to win the game. Oklahoma really hasn't played anybody as good as Michigan. Michigan's got they get 2 bigs, and really Coach May's done a good job with the new team and everything. I think we'll win.
By the way, there is, as we had this morning, in case you guys missed, you can always go back and watch it on the Insta replay on Sports Radio tab on the SR1029thegame.com website, where we had this morning fast chat with City Garage Motorsports. Stewart joined us when they were on the road. They also announced they're going to have a second car number 5050 for City Garage Motorsports, which is going to be amazing, along with the Arkham Menard Series, their 2025 full season debut with driver of the number 85 car, Bucket Monopoly. But I say that because 2311 Racing front row attorney Jeffrey Kessler released a statement after injunction decision. This has been going on back and forth for the longest. But in a big win for 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports today, the teams were granted a preliminary injunction by the court. It will allow them to race as chartered teams in the 2025 NASCAR season and purchase a charter each from Stewart-Haas Racing. Given the decision, there's still a chance for an appeal from NASCAR. If not, this lawsuit will move forward into the next stages of discovery. Following today's decision, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports attorney Jeffrey Kessler released a statement. Quote, "We welcome today's decision by Judge Bell granting a preliminary injunction in our favor. The court's ruling allows 2311 and Front Row Motorsports to race existing cars as chartered teams in the next year's Cup Series. The decision also requires NASCAR to approve both teams' purchases of a third charter from Stewart, Haas Racing, and allow these cars to also race as charter teams in the 2025 season. We are confident in the strength of our case and will continue to fight so that racing can thrive and become a more competitive and fair sport in ways that benefit teams, drivers, sponsors, and more importantly, our fans." That has been going on for a while, a huge while. And my thing is, and even NASCAR, I believe also, the judge ruled that it has a monopoly over premier stock car racing. No duh. I mean, we've seen things change throughout the years, but at the same time too, it's gotten a little bit on the ridiculous side. And someone had to fight NASCAR. Somebody had to, whether it be in 2311 or not, somebody had to fight them. Thankfully, the ruling went with on their side. And before I get back to Joey's comments here, Dylan says from Auto Racing Digest, this is a pretty big deal. This means they are locked into every race. They would have had to qualify, pardon me, Dylan, had to qualify for the Daytona 500. Yep.
No, I know. Wasn't Michael Jordan just in a lawsuit too against them?
Yeah, because that's the 23 team. The 11 ones belongs to Denny Hamlin. So it's the combined version of it. But yeah, I mean, listen, at this point, you got to stop. I mean, you can only buy the driver suits from this particular person. The driver shoes, this particular person. Like, you can't go shopping around. Basically, it becomes a huge monopoly because, okay, how is anybody else able to get into the sport? And you're telling me they're making the best device for me when all they care about is just mass production? So I'm just glad it's about time someone stood up to NASCAR. I can't stand the dumb segment series. I think they should have left it the way it was when we all loved Winston Cup. But whatever's, I know they want to change things, try to make it more competitive, blah, blah, blah. It was competitive when you had 400 laps, and you better do the math because you knew when you had to come in for two tires, and obviously for gas. There is no oil change, but I'm pretty sure if they could, they would do it as well. But nonetheless, it's a competitive sport, and you got to figure out at what point will these teams finally say enough is enough. So kudos to the 2311 team because finally something went their way, and I'm absolutely stoked about it because they needed to be. Going back to something else here because obviously, it went completely away from me. I wanted to go back and for some reason exit all the way out. So let me bring it back over here. Didn't I see another thing as well, which is kind of like a non-story, but a story because Carolina fans have to have something to root for. North Carolina sports betting, best North Carolina sports books and bonus offers. Now, this comes from North Carolina, who has become a hotbed for online sporting betting since the passage of HB 347 on June 14, 2023. Online sports betting officially began March 11, 2024, bringing a new wave of excitement to North Carolina. It's a long piece, but basically they're saying that they're trying to throw these kind of bonuses and all kinds of crazy nonsense in there. But all of a sudden, when you are able to turn around and open up the gambling books in North Carolina, you might as well bet against a team that's not winning and bringing in money for you. So you can spread the love around everywhere else. But North Carolina has become a big, well, I don't want to say big, semi-big gambling hotbed out there because, again, since they opened up the books, and it was no different here in Florida. Once the Hard Rock went live, it was the same way. Everybody, they all jumped in and they placed their bets. But the Carolinas have bigger problems other than just sports betting. They got to figure out what they're going to do with this team next year. Dave Canales obviously is going to be fine. Bryce Young, to me, I think you give the kid his final year of his rookie deal. I don't see why you need to shop around. He's shown some positive momentum. And I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to keep the redheaded stepchild for another season? I mean, isn't Andy Dalton close to retirement age at this point? And what, I mean, are you going to leave these two as a tandem duo, or are you going to go in the later rounds of the draft coming up in 2025 and have a backup for Bryce Young in case things go wrong? But are you sold, Beav, that Carolina is going to stay with Bryce Young? I know they're going to stay with Dave Canales unless the owner does something ridiculous. But are you convinced that they're going to stay with Bryce Young for next season?
Yes, but you just said their owner's a nut job.
Yep.
So, but no, Bryce Young's been good. He had a kind of a clunker game last week, but since the Andy Dalton thing resolved itself, with the accident he had and everything, he's really played well.
Yep.
And he's on what is this, year 3 of his rookie deal, which is 4 or 5 years depending on what the team does. So I think he should play, and they have just build around the guy. Don't make the mistake the Cleveland Browns did with Baker Mayfield, and we've seen there's other guys. Sam Darnold's another one where these dumb teams give up on guys and then they go and mature and become good on other teams. And by the way, which quarterback are you going to hand the keys over to Bryce? I mean, there's not. This is in 1983. There's not 7 or 8 guys at quarterback in this draft.
Right.
I just think it's smart and it's cost effective to try figure out what the guy is and see if he's any good. What do you do? Bring in Jameis Winston?
It's funny because now let's switch over to Cleveland. By the way, let me get to these other comments as well. As Joey B says, as we're talking about NASCAR here for a second, yes, the Winston Cup, that's when racing was racing. Now it's all for corporate money and for TV. And absolutely right, because I've seen the sport change for so many years. Tim says NASCAR sucks now. They changed it to keep Jimmy Johnson from winning it all the time. Listen, and Tim's got a good valid point too, because at one point, it's like the Patriots. We all got tired of seeing the Patriots win. Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canals. I mean, you couldn't have a better tandem duo that the way they were winning. And it was almost a guaranteed lock. Jimmy's coming back next year. Chad is. Okay, they're in for the Winston Cup. Now, I absolutely loved and appreciated, obviously, Dale Earnhardt, until the passing. And then poor Sterling Marlin got the fear knocked out of him when everybody kept coming after him, saying they blamed him for Dale Earnhardt's death. But it's not the same. It is a lot of corporate greed when it comes to NASCAR. Joey B says, Carolina Panthers, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss would be a great fit.
The run first guy from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys age well in the NFL.
Yeah, that's why Levis is sat down for that same reason.
Levis is you know what Levis means in English?
No.
Sit down.
Oh, well.
There you go. So listen, Phil Go Franklin got that right. He didn't play that kid. That kid didn't win the job there. He's a mess. Great mayonnaise commercials, but not a good quarterback.
Tim says, by the way, I need a little advice on a suicide pick. I can use Atlanta against Giants or the Rams versus Jets. What do you think?
Bet against the Giants, because this is the difference between the Giants and the Jets. The Giants understand the assignment.
Right.
The Jets do not. They came back and they got 140 yards in the last 4 minutes from Devontae Adams to win that game. Do I sound like somebody who's against Aaron Rodgers in fantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. That's your job. The Jets' job now Giants should be to lose games. Instead, Aaron Rodgers, hey, look at me, I'm still good. Pay me, put me on a TV show. Da, da, da. The Giants flagging field goals, playing 15 quarterbacks, no effort on defense. They're ass, and I don't care who's playing. You could bring in Steve Bartkowski to play for the Atlanta Falcons and win that game. Look up who Steve Bartkowski is if people don't know who that is.
Speaking of, and I'll bring up Aaron Rodgers back up here in a second. Joey B says when Beav drives to Home Depot in Ann Arbor, he treats it like the Michigan 500. You ain't racing if you ain't rubbing bumper sticker on this 1996 Chevy Monte Carlo. But that'd be pretty good if you actually nailed your car. But then,
No. This is funny. I don't drive, so that's
right,
part of the thing. So I don't drive, but here's the funny thing. My business partner Kathy is a huge NASCAR person, so that's the person to talk to her about the NASCAR stuff. But no, yeah, I mean, I love Boogie Night, not the Talladega Nights. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
and Shake and Bake and all that. That's a good show, and the best segment in the entire movie. Let's go live to Larry Bird.
Yeah,
So yeah, and it's a black rapping looking guy.
exactly.
little, he looks like a combination of Rick James and Webster. And
When
it's
he
it's
gets out
so
the race cars, yeah, Ricky Bobby, you're not on fire. I'm on fire. You're not on fire, Ricky Bobby. That was such a good movie. I
such a good movie. It really is.
when
It's
you
funny.
brought up
Right up there with
Aaron,
Anchorman. I think Anchorman's better. Anchorman is better.
it is better. I mean, listen, they created that Ron Burgundy character, and it fit really well. He ran with it for Lord bless you for
I will
about
not eat the capoop. I will not eat the capoop.
yeah 6 years running, and he popped up. Where did he pop up last year? It was, I think it wasn't. It might have been Radio Row, but I don't think we end up catching him when he ended up doing it. Um,
So, Angel, the funniest thing is, are you a big Ted Lasso guy?
I've seen it from time to time. I haven't been able to see all the episodes.
Okay. So Ted Lasso, which again, Kathy, my business partner, got me into during COVID. Ted Lasso started out. It was a bit on the Dan Patrick show, and he used to go on the soccer show NBC Sports had, and he was he was doing commercials and stuff, and then it morphed into the show. So you never know what's going to happen with some of this stuff. There's a million examples. Happy Days. Happy Days was never supposed to be about Fonzie,
Yep.
but the audience responded to Fonzie. It's supposed to be about Richie, Ron Howard, and Henry Winkler and Fonzie were so big and it took off. And when Friends started, Courtney Cox was the big star. Everyone knew she was because she was on Family Ties. And then Jennifer Aniston took off, and Matthew Perry, and all the other ones on the show. So you never know what's going to happen. You just let things, naturally occur. I'm watching the American Underdog movie about Kurt Warner, which is incredible, and how Dick Vermeil, who's coaching for his career because he had been out of the sport for 13, 14 years, coming back to coach, and his new high-profile free agent gets his knee taken out. And to quote his words, we will rally around Kurt Warner and we will play good football. How'd that work out, Angel?
Pretty damn good. Pretty
Yep.
damn good.
You'll probably be listening to Kurt Warner this weekend doing NFL games on TV and radio. He's awesome.
Yep. Tim says,
Steve Bartkowski, number 10 on the Atlanta Falcons back in the day. One of my first favorite quarterbacks when I was a little kid. Cal guy. Went to Cal. I think he was Lee Steinberg's first client.
I think so too. I think you're right. Joey B says, by the way, B needs a segment on Entertainment Tonight, retro flashback segment. No, actually, it wouldn't be bad.
Okay, so listen, if you can send me up Joey B with Mary Hart, I will work for free for Entertainment Tonight. No matter what, if the Dodgers are on TV and it's a Dodgers stadium, I put the Dodgers game on to see Mary. If you didn't know, she sits right behind home plate with her husband. She's the biggest Dodgers honk ever. That was the one positive for me out of watching my Mets get beat by the Dodgers, and Mary got the win.
Yeah.
But and the other thing is the Yankees getting their asses kicked. But I love Mary Hart. I was in love with her when I was a kid.
Well, speaking of,
she sees this now. She's going to get a stalker restraining order on me. But that is
that good point, Joey B. Good point. Very good point.
She got them insured.
Sure did.
She got them insured. Look that up.
Yeah, well, that was like Jennifer Lopez. She also got hers insured for, I think it was $1 million each, which I'm even surprised. How does that work? First, that's what I would love to know. Okay, so you get cut.
Angel, this will stun you to hear, but I don't have this problem, so I don't have so no, it's yeah, it is what it's like anything else. If somebody wants to pay you for something, you pay it.
They do. I listen. I wish I knew what the secret was, but I'm like, okay. So sometimes you're like, what insurance company says, what was $1 million policy? We got you. I don't know. I don't freaking get it. I don't understand. What if Joey
It'd
and
be
Beav
hard
were
to
a
get
tandem?
eaten by crocodiles or something. I mean,
I don't
what's
know.
the
That's what I
point?
mean. It's
What?
just bizarre. Uh, Auto Racing Digest Dylan says, what if Joey and Beav were a tandem? Joey Beav. Oh my God. See, it's every once in a while.
Oh, see, auto racing. There you
Oh,
go. See, he's already. Well, my real name is Jay. If you didn't know that, so it's just pretty funny. But yeah, it's So one of these days, Angel, we're going to start getting more guests on. We got to bring on the guy who gave me that nickname. My
sure.
wide, my wide receiver coach in high school.
No problem. Joey B
Yeah,
says, by the way, Auto Racing Digest, if Bees and me work together on a segment, we never get a word in edgewise. Joey has called in twice. He's been a part of the network for 4 going on 5 years, which I can't even believe that one as well. But he's called in. The first time was a complete surprise. Didn't even expect it. And I was taken aback because I was like, wow, finally the legend who is Joey B ends up calling in, which was a great time. And then the last time he called in, that's when he went a little crazy because of the way the Giants were playing. So he had to let it out with Rich because it was just it is the year of nothing when it comes to the Giants. Joey B, by the way, says Angel would become Angle with me and Beavs talking over each other. That is true. That is true.
I mean,
No doubt about that one.
I just say the NS word, and you snap like a rubber band. So,
Okay. Yeah.
and that's I mean, it just I can't wait, man. If the Eagles lose in the playoffs,
Oh, there's no
you're not.
doubt.
You're gonna call him every a 4 letter name. You're gonna invent some names to call him.
Oh yeah, well the show will be bleeped, and you'll get about 5 minutes worth of show. 45 minutes will be just nothing but bleep buttons the whole entire time. Dylan, yeah, been together for 4 years on the network. I've seen Dylan grow from the age of 14. Now he's 20, going to be 22 years old. Oh, the lad. All that in 4 years. You guys do the math on that one. Joey B says, I remember when Dylan came on the show for the first time too. Yeah, very, very shy and timid kid. Dylan was doing the show from his bedroom closet. That's what it did seem like back in the day. But since then, he's grown to a young lad and doing good things with USF. And pretty soon will be out like the rest of the adults in this world, actually working for a living. But listen, Dylan needs to enjoy all that time in USF, soak it all in, keep learning, keep growing, keep doing good things because eventually he's going to do really well. And again, I keep mentioning about his broadcasting gigs. Dylan could easily take over for anyone over on NBC, easily, the way he calls games. It is very, very entertaining to hear Dylan call a game. Tim says, Danny Dimes, where will he be next year? Good question. Danny Dimes next year. Would Cleveland bite on Danny Dimes? If, let's just say, Jameis Winston decides that they need his services into, I don't know, the Carolinas?
Daniel Jones has a specific skill set where you have to use him. Part of the run and athleticism has to be part of his game. So he has to be like RPO. He's a little bit. It's not quite the same, but what Jalen Hurts is, where you have to do certain things with him to get him involved in rollouts and things like that. I mean, obviously, you watch the Eagles all the time, Angel. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you want you to incorporate. You don't want to just drop him back and turn him into Dan Marino. So I don't know. It's interesting. If I'm Cleveland and they've already told Watson he's going to be back, I would see how the kid plays the next 3 weeks. The three-name guy, Robinson, whatever the hell his name is, the UCLA kid.
Right.
Play him and see if he's any good, and then figure things out from there. Jameis is always going to have a job as a backup, a swing. What Jacoby Brissett is for the Patriots, the placeholder guy, which Steve DeBerg was for years in the 70s and in the 80s and 90s. So we'll see. But I was a Daniel Jones guy. I still am. But you run out of opportunities here, and I think teams can do better than him. And again, I don't understand why Carolina would move off of Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's good. Get Bryce Young some help, not competition.
Yeah, no, he's going to need help. By the way, Tim says, well, let me say this first before what he put up there. I appreciate that Tim has hung out the entire show. I know during the morning might be kind of tough because maybe with work in the morning, but Tim, I appreciate you not only hanging out, but the comments throughout the show. I do appreciate it, brother. And again, this is why Dallas Eagles fans, minus when it's game time, this is why we get along for the same reason, because we have the same focus. Just win and beat the other teams. But he says New Orleans. New Orleans might be, well, you know what? It may not be bad, but depends on who's going to become the head coach in New Orleans. And I don't, right now, there's not
Aaron Glenn.
Who is it?
Aaron Glenn, the Lions defense coordinator.
Really?
That's what I think is going to be the Saints coach.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
But that's where he and Dan Campbell came from.
So, when Danny Dimes could resurrect his career there. That might not be bad. That may not be bad.
You're always in cap jail. I never thought in a million years on Wednesday night at 6:50, whatever it is, I'd be talking about Daniel Jones and where he's going. So I mean, it's not. There's a million other things. I can tell you right now. Right now, there's at least 4 teams that need a starting quarterback next year: the New York Giants, Tennessee Titans, Vegas Raiders, and the Saints. And then you have a bunch of other teams like Pittsburgh, the Jets, Seattle, Indy. I'm not kidding. If you've watched Anthony Richardson, the 49ers in Minnesota, who have to figure things out, what they're going to do. And then you have the Rams and again, the Jets, who have an older guy who's beat up. What do they want to do? But again, Giants, Titans, Vegas, and the Saints all need a starter. The Steelers, Jets, Seattle, Colts, 49ers, and Minnesota have to give us some indication what they're going to do long term. And I should also throw Cleveland in there.
Yeah.
But Cleveland again has told they're in salary cap jail because of Watson. So they're kind of limited in what they can do.
I like to, and I'm going to throw this out there to everyone in the here listening to us on the comments and all. What's everyone's thought before we get into the question that Tim had just posted up there? But what's everyone's thought is Brock Purdy? Now he came in as Mr. Irrelevant, as they like to call him, and very far end pick of the draft. Good year, first year coming out. Has he shown kind of his true colors and maybe not the quarterback that everybody thought he was going to be?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you thought he was going to be. I mean, would any quarterback in the NFL be less consistent without his best offensive skill player for every game except for about a game and a half? And when he played, he was limited. Then you have the holdout dumbass deep receiver who tanked the whole season in the offseason with his nonsense with his holdout in Ayuk, and then he came in and did nothing. Then you got Debo, who looks like he's retired and hasn't told anybody, bitching about his role. Ball hits him right in the hands. He drops it. George Kittle's played great, but that's about it. The O-line's kind of okay. And now Trent Williams is barking about money. He's been hurt. Their overrated defense has kind of come back to earth too. And they're in a division that there's no real bad team. They're all playing good. And my feelings on Kyle Shanahan. I think Purdy is the least of their problems. Do I think he's a great player? No. I think high level, he's like when they were all good, he's like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. He's the mid-level guy. There is between great and garbage. They're in the middle. They're good players. When they have good players around the team's good. When they don't have good players, they're bad. Like the leader of that group is Jared Goff. He's an ordinary athlete, but he's a really good player. And when he has good players around him, he's good. But when he goes against, say, Josh Allen, it's really noticeable that he's not a great athlete. Because Josh Allen's being chased by 17 dudes and throws a ball across his body. Where Jared Goff tried it, he'd be in the cemetery. That's what I'm talking about. Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Yes, Jalen Hurts, Angel. The guys that can make off-platform plays. Matthew Stafford's another one. I just said blasphemy here in Detroit that Matthew Stafford is better than Jared Goff. That's why they got half the planet for him when they traded him. So it is what it is as far as ability. But Purdy is like a mid-level starter on a good team. If he has good players around him, it'd be fine. But is he Joe Montana or Steve Young? No.
Yeah. Tim says Purdy ranked 13.
He's not a flash in the pan. Their team is. It's not his fault that he hit friggin' Deebo Samuel on a crossing route that he should still be running, and he dropped the fucking ball. It doesn't have help around him. They're not good on defense. The coach is a schmuck, and Ayuk tanked the year, and McCaffrey played about a game and a half, and then his leg fell off. That's not on the quarterback. Have you noticed why is Joe Burrow's record bad? Because the team around him sucks. They don't play defense. They don't block anybody. It's him, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, who's also been hurt. Chase Brown, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase with average coaching and a cheap team. That's why they're where they are. You notice how Mahomes looks real ordinary? You know why? The tackles stink. Travis Kelce's 100 years old, and they're signing rejects off other teams. Juju Smith-Schuster, who the friggin' Patriots caught, is one of their starting receivers. DeAndre Hopkins is older than Methuselah. He's playing for them.
Jeez Louise. As we're getting ready to close it out here, Tim says, and I'm going to hand this off to the college guru, college playoffs, who you got?
For the games this weekend?
Yep.
Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, and bye-bye Ryan Day, Vols.
Ooh. But listen, speaking of that, and I would probably have to agree there. The Vols, though, they're the party that he put at nighttime. Obviously, during the daytime, they can't do what they do at nighttime. But if you're a student, it's a party even before the game starts. They do it right. I don't know who they hired, how they did it, what they did it, whatever it was. But man, not only a good team, but geez Louise, you talk about a party.
Angel. You know what though, Angel?
What's that?
Michigan's had 4 parties in 4 years versus the Buckeyes.
This is true. This is true.
See that big smile on my face?
Yep, this is true. I cannot disagree there. That is absolutely truth. But
and by the way, going back to Joey B talking about my rant,
yeah,
I just can't handle this mentality in football. It's always about the quarterback. It's not. One of the really good things about the Patriots is their quarterback. The rest of the team is ass. That's why they lose. Okay? Hey, Angel, not to bring this up. Hey, Angel, would you trade Nick Foles for Tom Brady?
No.
Okay. Do I have to explain what I'm asking about? How about Eli effing Manning and Tom Brady?
Still no.
Okay, thanks. There's 3 Super Bowl losses, those 2 stiffs.
Yeah.
Tommy lost home playoff games to Mark Sanchez and multiple ones to Joe Flacco. None of those guys would be confused with those guys. Look at the guys that Jim Kelly lost the Super Bowl to. I think Troy Aikman's one of the most overrated quarterbacks ever. He lost to Mark Rippon and Jeff Hostetler.
Yeah. Yep. Tim, by
so,
the way, says,
no, I don't. Indiana isn't going to be able to beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a great defense. Notre Dame just has better players. Indiana's a nice story. They got there. They don't have any special players. Notre Dame's got about 5 guys who are NFL players on that defense.
I'm going to have to make a note of that.
Coach Freeman is a very good coach. And he might be the next coach of Ohio State in, say, about a week.
Oh, boy. As you say, you just answer your phone. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, didn't he just get a big extension with watch my eyebrows and my forehead. Didn't he just get a big extension with Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Isn't it like somebody knows something?
Possibly. We'll see. But I'll try to remember for
They're
Monday.
also, by the way, they're also trying to bet Marcus Freeman is going to say the Bears.
Oh, and who did I see that was as we're closing it out here? Who's the former Teddy Bridgewater? He said he wants to try to make a return back to the NFL after winning the state championship at the high school where he was coaching.
Yeah, he was the Lions' backup quarterback last couple of years.
Yeah, but
well, the joke is, the Lions asked him if he wanted to play defensive end Sunday, so that was the Angel. You should have laughed at that. That was funny. But so there you go. There, I got you. But Dan said, Teddy, hey, congratulations on the high school. Hey, do you want to play defense next week? So no, it is what it is. No, Indiana's done well, but I'll say this. I think Clemson has a chance against Texas because I think that's a big coaching mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
Sark is like a coordinator, and Dabo is an elite head coach, national championship, Hall of Fame guy. SMU lost that tough game to Clemson, and Phil Franklin isn't going to blow that game. If he does it, he might not have a job Monday. But again, I just like Tennessee. I think Tennessee is good enough to hang around early for Ohio State's body blows and headshots and hang in there and keep the game close. And then Ryan Day will coach and Tennessee will win.
We shall see. It is going to get fast and furious coming up on the college.
Angel, it's like you screaming about the Eagles coach. Every time I come on any show on the network, I have to make fun of Ryan Day because I have to just remind him and do this and see that. What's that? What's that? That's a 4 I'm holding up and down. So you can figure out what that's for.
Yeah.
But he had a press conference yesterday. He was saying the Michigan game's just another game. Oh, that's going to really calm the fans down, Ryan. What a genius he was. He came up with that.
Because
it's just another game. Well, get Urban Meyer on the phone. See if he thinks that's true.
Dylan says from Auto Racing Digest, make your curable pick. We'll end with that one. You got.
Okay, I'm not even being funny. Who the hell's in the game? Who the hell's in the game? I don't know. I'm sorry, Angel.
No, that's okay. They're wondering too. Jacksonville State versus the Bobcats from Ohio.
Go with the MAC team, Ohio. The fighting the Nebraska coach after Osborne. Don't say it. Frank Solich.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't go with Ohio.
All right. I'll make sure I put it down.
God almighty. I just said that, by the way, but I did.
Yeah, because the other Ohio team, I'll put 30 down on Ohio. I'll make sure I'll put it on there. I'll end up winning finally something. I'm glad I don't bet because Dylan.
What do you do now?
How about you put game before that, genius? I'm not even going to put it up there because I don't think he realizes he threw it up there. If you can see it, don't read it aloud, but I think he should have put the game, then the other word in there. Goodness gracious. This kid sometimes. But anyways, that's how the show ends. Thanks to Dylan. And
there you go.
Yeah, genius. All right, listen, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. Tim, especially you. Thank you for hanging around the entire show. We do appreciate it. We are here Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 7, sometimes a little after 7 o'clock, depending on what I got going on here with USF. So thank you all for tuning in. Joey B, as always, has been legendary here with the network for the longest. And then, obviously, Tim, Dylan, even though it is just the blunder's mistake that what he is at times, this kid, I defend him, and then he knocks me right back down every stinking time. But nonetheless, all right, thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, coming up at 8 o'clock tonight, if you guys have watched this show, you can finish up the night with Talking Hoops as the premiere of Doc Riley, who took place of Ron Briscoe. He will be on tonight. Doc was funny during the interview, and I cannot wait to see how he mirrors up with this team when it comes to Coach Mack and Coach Johnson. So thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to start the day off with the Pete Shepard Show, Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 a.m. Martinez and Company, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, minus this Friday because we'll be at the Cure Bowl. And then, of course, the Drive with Q, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 4 to 6, soon to be back to those hours. And, of course, Beav's World here, Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. And then Monday nights, Lloyd Vance's Insider Football at 8 p.m. And then tonight it is Talking Hoops with the crew. So with that being said, thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.